Hey everyone, Brian and Jeff with wrenchesandrides.com, and we are going to revisit one of the ultimate drill battles that we've done on our Workshop Attic channel. We are putting the Milwaukee M18 2804-20 up against the Ridgid R8611 506, which is Ridgid's new 1300 inch-pound drill. Now you notice if you watch the video on Workshop Attic that we did not have the new Milwaukee 6.0 amp hour high output battery.
Which we do now.
And that is going to make this a 6.0 amp hour battery contest per se. We're going to put them up against each other with just 6.0 amp hour batteries. Whereas before we were bobbling around between a bunch of different batteries to kind of show that the octane batteries really made a difference in the Ridgid. And they do, but in this case, we're going straight at it for ergonomics, heat, how it feels, power,
battery life,
what breaks, battery life, the whole thing. So we're going to start to show you how we warmed these two drills up, and both drills can do some pretty amazing things.
Yeah, I'm not put off by any of those tests we've done so far. I mean, both of them have shined.
Yeah, well, we started out with a 6 1/4 inch hole saw, and we're just chewing through some particle board. We have 3 layers of it that we screwed together, and this is to try to take away any issues of knots, to make it as fair as possible. And neither drill has an issue in low with this major hole saw.
Not whatsoever.
You have more issue trying to get through all 3 layers and not pushing it through. But either way, these drills just rock. And after that, we moved on to a 3 5/8 inch speed bore. And that too is another one of them that just loves to just eat.
And these ones will test a drill for power, no matter what drill you're using.
And our goal here was to go through some OSB, then move over to some standard pine, and just kind of show you the differences as to how it would perform in those 2 situations. But either way, the goal here is to show you we have a Milwaukee 1200 inch-pound drill up against the Ridgid 1300 inch-pound drill. The basics here are that the Milwaukee is smaller, 6.9 inches long. The Ridgid is 8.3 inches long. RPM wise, we're dang near the same with the Milwaukee at 0 to 550 in low and the Ridgid at 0 to 540 in low. On high, they're both 0 to 2000 RPM drills. Have you really noticed a difference just in warming up so far?
No, they're very, very comparable. Like at one time I said I thought the Ridgid was a little faster, but then the Milwaukee's a little faster in something else. So it's very hard to say either one of them is on top. I mean,
they're both quality drills. It's going to come down to realistically what battery platform you're in. If you're a Ridgid fan, you're rooting for this orange to win all day long. And even if you're a Milwaukee fan, even if this orange wins all day long, you have a smaller, just as powerful drill sitting over
exactly
there. So we're not going after that, but we're going to continue on here, and our next test is going to be one of those that's going to test out some serious power. We're going to put them both in low range. We're going to put this 3/4 inch, 18 inch long self-feeding bit in, and we're going to drill into a 6x6, and we're going to measure how deep it can actually get in there. That's going to be cool. We're going to let you watch it as we go so you can hear the drills, see everything as it happens, and don't be afraid to leave your comments below as to what we're doing, because we want to hear that, if we should change things, or if you like what we're doing, or what you want to see next. So let's go to the other room, try this out.
Forward and low, let's give this guy a try.
Did it stop?
No, forward and low. it shut off.
So I'm pretty sure no one wanted to listen to that.
I didn't want to listen to it.
That's a lot of squealing. So what you've seen there is basically the Ridgid failing in what we saw as a potential knot situation.
Yes.
So we're just replaying this test right now because you don't want to hear that again. So we did the test for a second time to make sure that everything was going to be kosher. And while going through that test, actually there wasn't as much squealing in the last hole with the Ridgid.
Well, we weren't going through that hard,
Whatever that
from
section
the
is in the
womanized-
6x6.
Yeah.
So after working through these again, there's no doubt that they both had the power and they both buried the bit without issue. The Ridgid, when it did hit that knot, did take a hit. And I guess that's something to bring up at this point. We also moved on to, after this, some 1.5" Spade bits. And while we were drilling with those 1.5" Spade bits, found that the Ridgid stumbled once in a 2x10.
It was 2x10, yes.
So once we were drilling through some particle board and we were drilling into a 2x10, just kind of going back and forth to see if we had any differences. Milwaukee went through it flying colors. The Ridgid stumbled once.
And then I drilled one extra hole to make sure it wasn't something in the 2x10 that was locking us up.
Right. But with the battery section sitting where we're at, we have the Milwaukee showing 3/4 of battery and the Ridgid showing half battery. So if this was a battery test to this point, per the battery gauges, Milwaukee's winning.
Yes. Because we all know that once we get down to half, they tend to go a little faster.
Yeah, especially this octane battery seems to go faster than the other ones do.
So the new Milwaukee is holding out
Much
great.
better.
Right.
And if we were to take a look at our tests at this point in time, we got 2 dings against the Ridgid. Might not be Ridgid's fault. It did fail once with the 3/4 18-inch auger, not going in all the way. And it did fail once
With the 1.5" speed board.
in normal wood. Could be knots. But what we're going to move on to next was what we found there was a huge issue or a huge separation, and that is when we move over to concrete. So let's dive in, and we're going to switch back and forth. We have 2 new Bosch multi-bits. Brand new. And we're going to switch back and forth. So somebody can't say, hey, this guy's got more pressure or this guy's got more pressure. So we're going to drill multiple holes here. Ready?
What are you going to do?
1, 2, 3, go.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I hit another hole. It just caved. So whatever was in there, it caved. So let's go in here.
Go right here.
You ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Took a lot of heat last time on comments that you pushed really hard and made the Ridgid win.
For you guys out there thinking I'm pushing, not a chance. This guy's got it.
And when it comes to concrete, the hammer on the Ridgid, if you do a lot of Obviously, if you do a lot of concrete work or use the hammer portion of the Ridgid, there's a lot there, and you can actually feel it when you're using the drill. Now, the second time in the middle there, if we don't edit it out, I hit another hole or whatever, a void in that, and it just took me in a weird place. But there is no doubt that Ridgid's got it. Lighting wise, is the LED light wise, I'm not 100% sold on the Ridgid.
No, it directs your light right here.
So we turned the lights off again and just said, hey, what do you see? And you're right, all that light is right in front of the chuck.
Right where you're working, where the Milwaukee lights up your workspace.
And I like that part.
Yeah.
So now we're on to taking 2 1 1/8 Spade bits, and we're gonna switch back and forth, but we're gonna try to show which one of them is going to be faster in different situations. And then we'll come back and we're gonna just talk about that.
Once again, both brand new, never been chucked before, so.
Perfect, we'll see how they do. 1, 2, 3, go.
I wasn't pushing at all, folks.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. I think I beat it again.
Just a hair.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, go.
Yep,
I got you off
same
the
thing
line
again.
there.
We need a tree.
Ready?
Again?
1, 2, 3, go.
I treed you and you still beat me.
One more. 1, 2, 3, go. That was about
close.
as fair as I think we got.
Yep.
I think the Milwaukee still won. So let's switch. Ready?
Just for curiosity's sake, where are you at on battery? I'm down to 2. We're both at 2. No push.
Let's battery up. We got new ones.
Funny how the Milwaukee's dropped and the Ridgid's staying where it's at as far as battery.
Yeah, we
You
got to
know?
mention that. That's a good one. Because it is very funny that the Milwaukee,
Because we were just talking about the battery life and all of a sudden, boom, the Milwaukee's at half and the Ridgid's still at half.
yeah, that's all could be in the battery. Are you ready here? Brand new batteries. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. One, 2, 3, go. One, 2, 3, go. One, 2, 3, go. It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Well. Little change of events from our last video.
And last time, the Ridgid was definitely the clear winner.
There's no doubt. And this time, Milwaukee 6.0 amp hour battery, that high output battery, has done a lot for that drill.
Yeah, it boosts the speed by.
So if anybody's sitting out there with a 5 amp hour battery on their brushless tools wondering, should I go out and spend the money on a 6.0 amp hour 2-pack?
Answer to that is yes.
Yes. So yeah, if you want a little bit more speed and you want that little bit more of an edge, it made the difference between last time this Milwaukee drill losing and the Ridgid drill pretty much winning at about that same amount.
It's a complete opposite.
Yeah, so that is where that one landed. It was clear. So the first time we had a half a battery, which we talked about a little bit in there, how it was odd how the Milwaukee dropped a half and Ridgid held half, switched over to some new. I think that was well worth the time spent there just to see what's happening again. But now we want to talk about heat, because heat's something that everybody brings up with those Gen 3 Milwaukee drills. So we're going to go back with our new battery packs and we're going to put them through some torture. And we'll come back with the thermal imager and see what she gets, hot or not.
The Milwaukee feels warmer right now. Let's
Be what
go.
it'll be.
Let's go abuse them a little more.
All right, looking at the Ridgid, looks like the hottest spot is about 122 towards the back. We do not see a whole lot of heat going down into the trigger area. Battery portion, 80 from what we can see. Not bad. Bit is 186, 187. Moving over to the Milwaukee. Bit 176, 177. Not as bad. Can you turn that Milwaukee around for me? That handle's getting in the way. 150. I can get towards the back. The heat does travel down into the handle. I got 102 just behind the trigger.
My hand was getting warm.
Battery cells don't even show hot. Could you flip the Milwaukee around again? I want to see the other side of the battery cells maybe. Ridgid battery cells showed hot. The whole handle on the Milwaukee is warm, 90 something, and she's warm. There's no doubt about that. Especially when you look at the Ridgid. Could you turn the Ridgid around one time? Yeah, handles nothing on the Ridgid. There's a definite difference in heat. So a lot of people talk about the Milwaukee Gen 3s heating up. Yeah, they do.
But we didn't get a thermal timeout like
No,
we did in the Ridgid.
you did once on the Ridgid, but it wasn't as hot, which is an interesting way of looking at how much smaller the Milwaukee is, maybe a little bit more of a breathing room in the back compared to the Milwaukee. When you really look at the two drills, it's going to come down to a few things. As you said, what battery's in your stable,
What tools in your stable?
and then where do you want to go? But you're going exactly where I am on this. And the Gen 2 and Gen 1 Milwaukees had this same style of clamp that just clamped onto the top.
Where they have,
Gen 3, they have upped it to clamp more of the drill.
yeah.
I don't
These
know
are
if
a
I
little
can
more
find.
scary.
Yeah, I don't know if I can find the old footage of us breaking one of these. You were running this exact hole saw, and
It just let go.
we took a chip off the top of the drill, and that hurt. That wasn't cool. So we're always nervous when we only have two little pieces to clamp on. So if I was using this very long side handle a lot, I would advise you probably not to go here, only because of this little bit of clamping possibly
I
breaking.
mean, you're talking about that size of a drill with that much power. Its only downfall that we see is,
You're right. The basics here of what you have is good. It's a larger drill. I'm not a big fan of these LED lights.
no, it's two directional.
In not only the direction, it's where they're located at the end of the drill. It makes the chuck larger. It makes the chuck
And
awkward.
we don't know what it's going to do for longevity being in.
Will they work forever? Will you beat them up? If you drop this and bend the chuck, what's going to happen to your lights? That's that. There's 100, I think, micro settings on this clutch, and it's the old style, just mechanical clutch. I'm a huge fan of the E-clutch that Milwaukee has. So what, it has 14 settings? I don't think you need any more. This 100 settings thing,
No.
I mean, it is where it is. That
It's
is
still
nice
a guessing
because
game.
it is. That's nice because it's silent. And
Yeah.
if you want to give it a little bit more, you just hit the trigger again and she locks her down a little bit. The size of the Milwaukee, you can't beat it. It's small. Does that heat bother me? That would be the only thing that I'd come down to. You're heating up the drill. Is that going to take some life out of it? I'm not sure, because I don't know what the engineers know or did when they put all that copper in there.
Exactly.
That's what we hear. There's so much copper in there that, you know, dissipates heat. It does heat up more because of the wattage. Yada, yada, yada. Comment below on what you guys know about that stuff. But to me, I'm not afraid of the heat. If I had to use it constantly, might it be uncomfortable?
It depends. How often are people actually doing what we just did? Drill 25 holes continually in the matter of what, a minute and a half, 2 minutes?
The electrician roughing out a shop, a house.
Yeah, but you're not drilling through.
You're just walking through 2x4s constantly. I mean,
Right.
there are times, but is it going to make you uncomfortable?
No, I don't think you're going to have that heat build up where, like I said, my hand was getting warm. I don't think in normal day-to-day operations you're going to have that.
So as we look at this from the Workshop Addict video that we did in the beginning of power, does the Ridgid have more power than the Milwaukee? And in that video, we said yes, the Ridgid did. And might that video be slightly flawed because we didn't have the 6.0 amp hour battery?
I think this made all the difference in the world.
So it did. I don't want to say I retract that video because I stand by everything that we did in that video. Wish we'd have had that 6.0 amp hour battery because it would have changed the way that video went.
I'm not making any withdrawals about the performance of the Ridgid.
No,
I think
it's still
an
there.
Excellent drill.
Still there, but we didn't compare ergonomics. We didn't compare how someone feels or what in that video. It was just who's got the power. But after sitting with these tools in our shop for a month, using them continuously on different projects that we have going on, there's no doubt that the drill that gets looked at and picked up first is the Milwaukee.
Not only because of its size, but it's because of our feel. We both like the Milwaukee, the grip on
A
it.
little bit more slim grip.
But I also have a lot of these in my toolbox, and I'm not scared to use them one bit.
I'm not either. I just think that what we do in side-by-sides, cars, little things like that,
You
we
want
look
a
for
little bit
something a little
smaller.
more compact.
Right.
And I think that's where it comes down to. So no matter what you got here, I think it's nice for us to come back, show after a little bit of time and use what we found out with these things. Again, if you're looking at that 6.0 amp hour battery, definitely go at it. It is something to have in your shop if you're looking for every ounce of power that you can get out of a tool and not have that huge 12.0 amp hour battery on the bottom. So we appreciate you sticking with us through this. There's a lot of cool stuff that we're going to have on workshopaddict.com and on wrenchesandrides.com. So if you are not subscribed to wrenchesandrides.com, please do so now. We greatly appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.